George Morgan here and Jack Canat. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count down Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Oh my goodness, that's not a good start, is it, ladies and gentlemen, to this stream? Give me 2 seconds. Because at the moment, there is no game video broadcast. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome along. It is a new era of PSGL. That's right. It is a brand new season. Season 39 is the latest of the PSGL seasons, the final one on F1 24, and I'm sure we're all going to miss it. My name is Kotkas. I believe I'll be taking you through most of, if not all, the PSGL PCF5 season this season, and alongside me, I've got Lindsay Maddle. We're both new to the full-time scene. We're both relatively new to PSGL, but how excited are we, Lindsay, for this broadcast that's coming up tonight?
Yeah, I am very, very excited to have this season underway, and hopefully it is going to be a good one. And currently just looking at the qualifying order, which the viewers can't see, but I know you're working on that. It is looking quite close, but yeah, full season, PSGL, PCF5, both of us working hand in hand together in the comms box. It is going to be quite a good season. I am very, very excited for it.
It should be a very, very good one. And if we tab in, there we go, we should have the stream underway, and we should have all of the drivers that you can see on your screens. We've got some big names here, the likes of Thomas Lang, Dennis Langrock, Marcos Olmedo, David Martinez, Ivan Santamaria, lots of names that you are likely to know. Takubi as well. He is just starting a lap, Thomas Lang. His teammate is currently sitting at P1 at the top of the standings, 126.0, with Dennis Langrock 0.3 off. So quite a large margin for these early runnings.
Yeah, the opening runs always can create a little bit of variation. Normally one driver does stand out from the rest, so 26.0 to open up the qualifying. I'm sure people will chase that as we go further in, especially with all the second runs underway at this point. Somebody will top that, if not being Thomas Lang himself improving on his previous best. So we'll have to see how that goes for all of the drivers up and down the grid, but pace should improve run by run.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, especially with the track just rubbering in, getting used to having 20 Formula 1 cars pounding it. But as it stands, Thomas Lang sits above the rest. A number of the drivers, most of the drivers at the moment, sitting in between the 26.3s and the 26.7s. That is P2 even, to P13. That being Menno de Beva. Takubi is going to jump up there, smack bang in the middle of that battle, P8 with a 26.5. Looking further down, who else is on a push lap? Akim Lai, I believe is how he's supposed to pronounce that. He's up to the line with a 26.7, right at the rear of that group. Who else is on a push lap? Alex Santana I'll switch to. He is invalidated. Noel in Sector 1. He is going to try and improve on a 34.2, which is 0.8 off of the pack. Well, it's 8 seconds even off of the pack. But in terms of the start, surely that is just a lap to bed himself in. We've got 9 minutes left in the session. The second runs have begun, and we'll see if anybody is able to match or beat Thomas Lang.
Yeah, that is the big question. Currently, 3/10 over the rest of the grid pretty much here with 9 minutes to go. But with everybody lapping around this circuit once again, it is going to be very close and very interesting to see how everybody closes up as Noel currently in the middle sector. He's about to finish it. We'll see if he's up on his previous best. I'd imagine he is. As he crosses the sector line, he's 3/10 down on his previous best. So not ideal for the Williams as he continues pushing here in the third sector. He'll want to move off of 16th on the grid in this provisional order as he rounds the final corner now. Noel to the line. He's just going to come into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Langrock also coming into the pit lane in the Ferrari. So maybe people thinking it's not worth it to go again.
Yeah, at the moment doesn't appear to be worth it with the times that people are setting. Although Giovanni Lanzoni about to prove me wrong with a 26-1 going up into the front row, the ET8 man, the McLaren driver, just completely proving the point that I was about to make wrong, that it was not worth going for a run at the moment. Gabriel Pinto as well jumping up into third place, so there are improvements to be found at this point, but maybe not as much as the end of at the end of the qualifying session. We've got just under 8 minutes to go, and we do have a number of drivers now diving back into the pits. The likes of Martinez, Santa Maria, and then as we saw there, Dennis Langrock as well, just diving into the pits. They're not happy with their push laps, and they're going to go once again to see what they can do, trying to switch over to Giovanni Galeotto as much as the game didn't want me to. He did set an invalid 26-7, so we'll see where the RB is able to put himself. He's one of two drivers who hasn't set a lap yet, if we're counting Knowles as a lap. Cat is down 1 second. I think he's preparing for a lap to go on the next one. Mattia Ramarini looks like he might be doing the same. We've got a number of new names, so apologies if we do pronounce yours wrong, and make sure to be vocal in chat and give us some hell if we get it wrong. But you never know. We'll see. Gabriel Pinto supporting chat. We've got our first message of season 39, and it is just casually Brazil flag, Gabriel Pinto Brazil flag. So good to see that we've got some support in there. We've got about roughly 20 viewers, so not too bad for the first round of the season. And yeah, I mean, F5 hasn't had a stream for a couple of seasons now, so it's great to be getting some of these drivers back into the spotlight. It's on at 7 the same time as F3, so you've got two broadcasts that you can watch at the moment. But of course, this is where most of the action will be. That's a driver into the 26.4s. That's Giovanni Galeotto into the 26.4s. Matteo Ramarini was improving by 2/10, but has opted to dive into the pits and prepare for a final run. Don't know whether he messed up the final sector or if he was just losing lots of time. Thomas Lang has started a new one. So Lindsay, take us away for a lap of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yeah, so Thomas Lang down towards turn 1, braking at the 100-meter board, get it tipped across, and then just cut it close with the track limits through turn 2, and then up the hill. Now you make your run towards turn number 4. You just need to set up the entry, go all the way out, braking just after the 100, and tip it across towards the apex. Lang looking very smooth through the first sector at the moment. Now the tricky high-speed S section, he's 200ths up on his previous best. That's exactly what he needs to be seeing at this moment. He needs to be improving if he wants to try and crack into those 25s, but currently looking reasonably comfortable over pole, but you can't discount Lanzoni or anybody else behind him in the field as he heads down through the tricky turn 10. Make sure not to lock up the inside front tyre, and then DRS open and go all the way to the outside of the straight and just trace the white line to get onto the curb for the entry to turn 11. Full commitment there, a little bit wide there from Lang as he heads now up the hill through turn 12, completely flat out, no worries at all for any of these F1 cars. He's now 3,000ths down. He'll need a good third sector if he's going to improve in Bahrain for what is going to be one of a few final runs. I'm sure this isn't going to be his final run with 4 minutes 40 left on the clock as he rounds the final corner. Now Thomas Lang is making his run towards the line. DRS open. It's going to be a 1 minute 25.982. That is a big improvement for Thomas Lang. He will not be disappointed with that lap.
No, I mean, I think everybody else will be, because that means they have to push into the 25s. Thomas Lang 25.9, and then Ivan Santamaria going in there with a 26.2, so a couple of tenths off where he would have wanted to be in that first place, but a few strong lap times that they're hoping to improve. They've now all clustered around the 26.3s, 26.4s, and that is somebody else going into their Takubi with a 26.4 just to boot. So P3, P4 even to P14 within a tenth of each other. This field is incredibly close, and you feel as though those down the bottom, the likes of Marcus Olmedo, Fiorino, Lai, Crook, Cat and Santana, you feel as though they're going to improve on their times. Marcus Olmedo demonstrating that as well. He does dive into the pits, but he was improving on that lap. There is time to find for him, and there is time to find as well for David Martinez. 3 tenths in fact, and he jumps up to a 26.1.
Yeah, I was just watching that lap. It was very, very smooth, very calm, just collected. And then he set himself up very well in this qualifying session. A 26.168 is nothing to not write home about. That is very, very fast. Puts him on the second row of the grid at the moment. But everybody will come out for their final runs soon enough. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what the track is gripped up like in the final runs, and if we'll see a lot of improvement, as one driver out on an out lap at the moment and a lot of other people on in laps, with everybody else sitting in the pits just gearing up mentally for their final run in this qualifying session. So I think that we are going to see quite a lot of improvement in the final runs.
I think so. I think there is a lot of margin for a lot of the drivers where I reckon they can get a decent amount of time. Marek Kuruk invalidating on his lap, so he will be looking to go again. NLR Cat heading through the first sector has improved by a tenth, but a lot of time is what the Williams will have to find if he wants to be competitive in this session. 4 tenths, in fact, before he reaches the chasing pack with the Kim Lai and Fiorino. Marek Crook also sitting back there, one of 2 drivers in the 27s. Everybody is out now, or is at least coming out on an out lap, apart from Lang, Santamaria, Mishas, Takubi, Noel, and Crook as well. But I'm sure they're going to dive out for their final run. 1 minute 50 left on the session, and time is ticking. Cat improves a little bit more in that second sector. Marek Crook retires from the session. He will be qualifying lowest or highest even, P18. I think he's going to get displaced though by Cat, as David Martinez also retires from the session. Cat comes up to the line. It's going to be a 26.7, which is just about good enough for 17th place, sneaking in ahead of Akim Lai, who's on an out lap. Takubi and Ivan Santamaria will not get enough time to come around on their laps, you would think. But never say never. I think they both come out of the pits now, but I think they may have missed their window. It's the final runs for everybody on this circuit. Fiorino and Galeotto have come across the line. Everybody's pretty split out, to be fair, on this circuit, so there shouldn't be too many issues with traffic, and we will see where these times are. Giovanni Galeotto will be the first one to cross the line, but he is down in the first sector, and he's going to try to find some time in this tricky second. He's going to have DRS as they head down the second full DRS straight on the lap, the third if you're including the main straight, which does actually start before the lap itself. Galeotto pushing himself very wide onto the curbing, just trying to gain as maximal time as he can before he comes across the second sector split time. Still not improving, still half a tenth down, and the man sitting with a 26.4 I don't think we'll be finding much time. There's quite a big margin between himself and Mishas, quite a big, being 400ths of a second. If he's able to find a 10th here, he will be competing for those top 10 spots. If he cannot, then he will not. Giovanni Galeotto up to the line does not improve, and behind him that is a Williams up to the line. I think that was... who was that? And Ivan Santamaria has finished his session. He wasn't able to get around in time. Cat, it was, that dived into the pits. Up to the line comes one of the kick Saubers. It's going to be Alessio Fiorino up to the line. He jumps his way up to P10. That is a good improvement, as now Patrick Pillis, I want to say, is coming up to the line in the Aston Martin 26284. If I butchered that pronunciation, feel free to correct me.
as Langrock in the Ferrari is about to finish his lap, as well as his teammate as well, Mattia Ramarini in the other Ferrari. So let's see what he has as he comes towards the line. Is it going to be an improvement for Mattia? It is going to be a 700th improvement into P11. Now what does Langrock have? A 26.3 P8 for him, as one of the V-Carbs comes to the line as well. And I believe that was Galeotto. No, it was Nathan, who's in P9, as it looks like Thomas Lang is down on his previous best lap time as he's heading through the first sector. Lanzoni invalidated his final run and also made a mistake through the first sector, so he wasn't able to improve. Neither can Lang. Galeotto is currently just backed off, and Noel is pushing. Will Noel be able to move himself up in this qualifying session as he rounds the final corner, currently with a 26.4. No, he's going to pull over to the pit lane. So that is your qualifying order, ladies and gentlemen. Thomas Lang knocks out your pole position with a 25.982, and Giovanni Lanzoni gets P2 with a 26.1.
And get this, he was the only driver, Thomas Lang that is, to sit in the 25s. That is incredible stuff, actually, because they did a practice run yesterday, a practice race, also some of them called it, and they were comfortably into the 25s. Thomas Lang taking that pole position, 25.982, with Giovanni Lanzoni a 10th and a half off. David Martinez just behind him before a 400th gap back to Ivan Santamaria, and then an 800th gap to the majority of the field, being led by Patrick Pillis, then Gabriel Pinto, Mishas, Melo de Beva, Dennis Langrock and Nathan running out the top 10, Mattia Ramarini and Alessio Fiorino in P11 and 12. Takubi and Giovanni Galeotto 13th and 14th, with Noel and Akim Lai 15th and 16th, before Marcus Olmedo, Alex Santana, and then two drivers down the bottom who I wasn't able to get, but I will get just very, very quickly. It was NLR Cat and Marcel Crook, or Marek Crook even. I've read that wrong. But we will be having a lobby restart before we get back in to the session, and you will be able to see our beautiful faces as I switch over. There we go, beautiful. Look at that. It's Lindsay, and it's definitely me. This is definitely a picture of me that we have on our screens. But I mean, Thomas Lang, so incredible in that qualifying session to qualify a 10th and a half ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, it was such a dominant performance. Just being the only driver in the 25s, definitely not expected to have such a gap over the rest of the field. The next driver behind was on a 26.1, so really, really unexpected at the end of the day. When you come to PSGL, especially in F5 and above, you expect it to be a lot closer, so really just making a statement there was Thomas Lang. Yes.
A huge statement there from Thomas Lang. We knew he was going to be one of the faster drivers in this session. We didn't quite know how fast he was going to go, and it'll be interesting to see whether he's able to back it up in the race session. Giovanni Lanzoni up there in second place, a man that we know very, very well from his time last season. But having a look, quite a few NLR drivers in this tier. You think about 3rd, 4th and 6th, Martinez, Santamaria and Pinto. Do you think that the teamwork that they've got will come into play in PSGL F5, or do you think they're just going to keep it to the team events?
It all depends on how they get along with each other being in the same team. I'd imagine maybe so, but also at a track like Bahrain, most people will probably not battle too hard throughout the race. It'll really be the final runs, if they were working together, where it would become obvious, because there's a lot of DRS swapping around the Bahrain International Circuit with all of the straights, and with the way DRS is in F124, all you can do is just swap around. You can't battle too hard, you can't lose the DRS, so we might not see it be too prevalent until the end.
Yeah, I mean, it is a track that pertains itself particularly to that slipstream and to just keeping within it, and it's more of a strategic circuit than anything, with a lot of different strategies you could employ. You've got medium, hard, medium. The softs could come into play as well in the race that some of these drivers partook in last night around the Bahrain International Circuit. We saw quite a bit of hards to softs. Do you think that will be repeated tonight or do you think there'll be more of a lean towards the mediums, more of a lean towards a comfortable setup because of how close the field tends to be?
I think that hard softs will see on at least most of the drivers on the grid, but we could see the appearance of a couple medium tyres. But it'd be interesting because it's all how comfortable that these drivers in F5 are with their strategy and how much they feel like they can take care of their tyres and various other factors as well. Obviously, it's a pretty taxing circuit, especially if you feel like you're going to lock up a lot at turn 10. Maybe you don't want to go for those soft tyres, but I think for sure most people will at least start on the hards and go from there. But I think that the soft tyres will be the most common second tyre.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise to me actually because I thought yesterday that it was just going to be a simple hard medium or medium hard strategy. But when I saw them stretching the stints to even the likes of lap, I think the longest that anyone went was lap 19, which is quite deep into the race before you switch over to the softs. And then quite a long stint on the softs as well. We know Bahrain is an incredibly hot track. It can eat those tyres up, so it could be that the sense that they're just going to struggle towards the end of those stints, and that could be where those who go on an alternate strategy could come into play. All of this will be decided in just a few laps' time, in just a few minutes' time, when we get underway for season 39 here in F5. And hey, we should be in for a good one. Have we got any race predictions just to start off with? The classic question, despite the fact that we haven't seen how these drivers compete with each other yet. We got any race predictions?
I think that Thomas Lang obviously showing a lot of strength. So if I had to make a prediction, it would be that he'll at least finish somewhere in the top 3, if not knock out the win. But that all depends on race pace as well. Which, I mean, I'm not just new to F5. I'm fairly new to PSGL as a whole. So I'm not too sure where a lot of these drivers have stacked up in the past. So I can't make too many bold predictions just yet. I feel like the predictions will more come in later on for later rounds in the season. But for Bahrain, I think that it's just a guessing game for now.
Yeah, I mean, Bahrain, to be fair, is a circuit that you could win if you're pretty much anybody. It's one of those all-round circuits, which is why they like it so much for testing purposes. It's Bahrain and Spain, two circuits that they like using for that sort of scenario and that sort of thing, which is, you know, I mean, Bahrain gives you a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of straights. There's a couple of chicanes as well, a couple of lower speed corners, and a couple of faster speed. You think about, well, turn number 10, one of the most awkward corners in the calendar, at least from my perspective. But that might just be a little bit of a skill issue. But hey, it's one of those all-round circuits that you don't necessarily specialise in. It's one of those circuits where a little bit of a surprise, maybe a surprise performance could come into play.
Yeah, it definitely is, because pretty much anybody can get up to grips around here, especially come race time when you're not pushing 100% flat out lap after lap after lap. It really just comes to you. The track almost works with you in a way, and you find yourself just getting a little bit more pace than maybe you thought you could get, and even in qualifying as well. Very tough circuit to get a lap done around, but it's also pretty inviting in the sense that you can get up to a reasonable standard, but those final couple of tenths of a second, like we saw with Thomas Lang, very hard to extract, but when you get it right, you definitely can. Obviously 15 corners and 5.412 kilometers a circuit of Bahrain International, and it tests you every bit of the way, but not as much as some of the street tracks and other tracks we have on the calendar. It is just a great way to open a season. I think it gives you a good baseline as to where everybody stacks up on the grid pace-wise.
Yeah, I mean, it's why they use it for testing. It's why Formula One use it for their round one, although that's not lasting for very much longer, if at all, because we're heading to Australia, I believe, for the first round of the 2025 season, which I'm sure you're very happy about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously right now it's 6:33 in the morning. If that gives you a hint as to why I'd be happy about that one. It's in Albert Park, Melbourne. I do not reside in Melbourne. I reside somewhere near Sydney in New South Wales, but same time zone at the end of the day. And yeah, I live in Australia. I am Australian, so it being back in Australia definitely is nice for me. But Bahrain, I always did like as the season opener as well. I think you can't go wrong with either of the two choices, but yeah, it's definitely nice to have it back.
Yeah, I mean, it's the right place even to start a season, in my opinion at least. Every F1 season should start with Brazil and end in start in Australia, end in Brazil. That's better. We got there in the end. But I mean, that might just be my opinion. We are loading into the lobby, so we will be getting going within the next couple of minutes. And by the way, as somebody who's commentated on quite a few of these lads before, I'm backing Dennis Langrock to take the victory here. So just keep an eye out for that, and keep an eye out for how much I'm about to curse poor Dennis Langrock there. I believe he was in the top few of the qualifying, but you never know. It's one of those, as you mentioned, that we're just going to have to wait and see as we head into race day. Race day, which is just about to begin, and the 5 lights are not too far away.
Yeah, and this is always an exciting time. Everybody putting their setups back on, getting the tyres of choice on their car, and then lining up on the grid. This is when all the pressure is stacked up against the drivers. It is when it's really going to come down to who can deal with the pressure the most. And I think we'll see quite a lot of the drivers off the start potentially drop back, and a couple of drivers thriving under the pressure and moving their way up the field. But starting a race at Bahrain is always a bit scary. Turn 1, a definite pinch point throughout the lap, and also turn 10 when the grid's still all bunched together is quite a scary experience at the best of times. It all just Constantine is back together and can sometimes create just a little bit of contact. So it'll be interesting to see how everybody manages this opening lap as we now come towards the lights in the Bahrain International Circuit. Lang on pole, and he gets away well as we are underway for racing action. Lanzoni trying to put the pressure onto Thomas Lang as we head down towards turn 1, but Martinez is putting the pressure onto Lanzoni as they head 3 wide of the first braking zone as Pillis tries to put his nose in as well as we head through turn number 2, and Martinez on the inside of Lanzoni. They're still battling away here for the P2 position. The McLaren inching back ahead. The 2 Red Bulls are side by side of Pinto and Santa Maria as they head down towards turn 4. They're wheel to wheel, so is Menno de Bever and Mikas as well as they head through the first sector. The yellow flag out the back is Takubi and Galeotto, who has spun around, as well as Akim Lai, who's had a bit of a moment up the back, as well as they're nearly 3 wide through turn 9, and now they make the run towards turn number 10 as Mikas and Langrock are still wheel to wheel as they head into turn 10, but they back out as Olmedo goes down the inside of 2 cars at turn 10, gets that one done, moves into P9s. It's all just starting to go back into a single file line here as we head through towards the 3rd sector.
Yeah, it's some fighting early on. They're going to try and calm it down, you would think, but hey, this is PSGL. Why would they? Dennis Langrock to the inside of Marcus Olmedo. Olmedo sending it around the outside. I'm just having a look. He's got the red wall tyres on. We've got a few of the drivers on a set of the softs. Early on, Patrick Pillis, Marcus Olmedo and Marek Crook, who's made his way past Alessio Fiorino into P13 as we head now onto the second lap of this Grand Prix. Thomas Lang will continue to lead it, but for how much longer, as Giovanni Lanzoni was alongside, but he comes under pressure from David Martinez, one of only 2 drivers on those mediums, and Martinez, little bit of ghosting, but he's going to be able to get the move done on Martinez, but with that ghosting, it meant that he didn't have the greatest exit, and Lanzoni came back ahead. Patrick Pillis will be waiting in the background with a set of those softs on, and that was a move there for Alex Santana with the mediums on. So a few interesting strategy calls early on in this race. Santana and Martinez committing themselves to a different strategy to everybody else. Marcus Almeida getting past Mishas. Menno de Bever fighting away with Marek Crook, who's had a great start here on the soft. He's going to go around the outside of turn 10. The grip should give him the edge as they head out, and he should be able to seal that position. Indeed he does. P12 for Marek Crook. Scraps going on up and down the field, but he's managing to scythe his way through at the moment.
Yeah, just a clean start all around for most of the drivers, as Crook was still under a little bit of pressure and also trying to apply the pressure to Nathan as he's on the soft tyres. He has to get a move on as he heads down towards the final corner now. Is he going to go for a move down the inside? It looks like it. So the Alpine not waiting around, and he looks to go the inside. Can't quite pull up alongside, but back up the front now. Lanzoni will continue to put the pressure onto Thomas Lang. So will Martinez as DRS is now enabled, and DRS is wide open on the McLaren as he sails to the outside. So does Martinez. Will Pillis also try to put his nose in? No, and Lang is defending. He's fighting back as they head through turn 2. Lanzoni gets the exit. He gets the drive off of turn 3, and now towards turn 4 they go. Will Lang fight this back with the DRS once again? Yes, he is. And Lanzoni defends the inside, and now the long way round goes Lang as Martinez tries to put his nose in, and now he's the long way round on Lanzoni. Gets that one as Santa Maria was under pressure, as well as Olmedo as well, going side by side with Pillis and getting that place back, as now he's going to try the long way round of turn 8. It's a big pinch point. There's contact. Oh no, that's Olmedo dropping down the field from contact with Gabriel Pinto. That is not what you want to see, as Pinto is now side by side with, no, it's Santa Maria who was side by side with Pillis down through turn 9 and turn 10, but they now go back single file again. But Olmedo will not be happy with falling all the way down after a bit of contact.
No, and the gamble onto the softs has not paid off, maybe not through any fault of his own. That will be discussed in the steward's room, but that is not for us to decide as we head now into the final sector. The main driver on the softs at the moment is Patrick Pillis. He's on those softs in the points, whereas Olmedo and Crook are all the way down. Pillis could be fighting for a podium as close as the end of the main straight. He's right behind Ivan Santamaria and getting closer as they head down the main straight. Everybody tucking over to the right-hand side, slipstreaming each other down the main straight. DRS is open. Martinez picks up the outside line. He could be taking the lead of the race. Lanzoni dives to the inside line of turn number 1. Can he make this move stick? Martinez can. Lanzoni can't. He's going to have to sit behind, but he could be making this move out of the next corner. He could get the run. He may well have got the run, but no, he didn't. He's decided to back out, decided to stay behind for the time being. But the top 3 getting their elbows out. It's only lap 4, but they're just trying to set a precedent.
Yeah, and all this battling hopefully doesn't hurt anybody. Currently, most of the drivers still in DRS range of one another, so I don't think it's hurting or helping at the moment with all the battling. They're just trying to get the on-track position overall, and Martinez with the mediums will still get swamped with DRS inevitably, but it puts him in a better position when it comes to battling side by side. He should be able to get the run off of the corner if he tries to fight back from Thomas Lang, but we know that Lang was not giving up without a fight when he was the car out in the lead. Will we see the same from Martinez, or will he back out? That is something we'll have to see. What is his leading style? Does he want to really hold station, or will he just defend till his heart's content? We'll find that out in a moment's time as they head down the small straight, the run up towards the final corner. Lang right up behind Martinez and Lanzoni behind him. This whole train sticking close together here in the opening 4 laps, as that was Lanzoni with a mega exit off of the final corner. He's all over the back of Lang as the DRS opens on all of the cars in this train, as Lang is gonna pull to the outside. Will Lanzoni also try follow suit? Yes, he does. He's gonna try the long way around, and he does get that one done, as Santa Maria was having to defend a little bit from Pillis, but in this train it's pretty hard as Santana gets pushed out wide at turn 1, loses out to place to Nathan, so he won't be happy with making just a little bit of a mistake in the braking zone, as Menno de Beva has been overtaken by Noel, as they are actually still side by side as they head through the apex of turn number 4 and now into the S section. Surely one of them has to back out. No, de Beva goes down the inside. There's contact. It's a massive save there for Menno de Beva, nearly ending his race in that moment. Now he's back down the inside of turn number 8. He's trying to really put the pressure on. He wants to hold the place to Noel here as they head down the hill towards turn 9 and turn 10. Menno de Beva, even despite a snap of oversteer through the S section, is going to hold on, but now he gets a poor exit off of turn 10. Noel trying to fight this one back as they head down towards turn 11, but I think he knows it's not the smartest move for his race. He doesn't want to lose the DRS, so he's not going to fight that one back. Menno de Beva taking the place.
Yeah, it's just about strategy now and thinking about what is best for them, as we've got 2 drivers out of the DRS, but that means that we've still got 18 drivers within it. So they're just going to try to stick with it as long as they can. They know that if they lose the DRS here in Bahrain, it could be an absolute killer for their race. We are on to now lap 6 of this Grand Prix, and we are still seeing a lot of drivers maybe trying to feign moves, trying to force mistakes from those ahead. One being Giovanni Lanzoni, who gets ahead of Lang. Martinez as well, trying to go for one. Lang ghosting on the exit of turn number 1. Martinez all over the back of the Mercedes as they head now down to turn number 4. But they're just going to stay sitting behind for the time being. And it's actually ETA, FBR, NLR, and then NLR. 3, 4, and 5 for the 3 NLR drivers up in the top battle at the moment. Those moves further back as Marek Crooks gamble onto the softs appears to not have worked. It hasn't yet affected Olmedo and Pillis that much, so I think maybe Marek trying to fight with all those other drivers up the field rather than just trying to stabilise his position like Patrick Pillis has been able to, and they've just been stabilised at the moment, but we'll see how long they are able to last with those softs. As there's a big wobble for Pillis. Well, not much longer is the answer to that question. Mishas goes through. Dennis Langrock could get through as well, but he's just going to stick behind. This will cost the Ferrari a lot of time, and I'm sure he's going to try to get past on the main straight. Pillis won't have as much straight line speed because he's not got as much slipstream. Mishas as well is 6/10 behind Pinto, so it's the small drops in pace that they might have. Langrock trying to make this move on Pillis as they head to turn number 1. Lang and Martinez and Santa Maria all making it past Lanzoni. It's a 4-car scrap for the lead, and at the moment Lang leads.
Yeah, that is a great overtake from all of them down the straight, especially from Santa Maria, just making up places. Lanzoni probably didn't expect to be that far back, and you can see it. He's trying to show the nose towards turn 4. The DRS definitely making it tricky for anybody who's out in the lead. We know that it's very hard to hold position down towards turn 1, but 3 cars getting past you down one straight is not what you really want as the leader, as Lanzoni goes back down the inside of Martinez, gets that one, and now Gabriel Pinto finds himself fighting with Martinez as they head down towards turn 9 and 10. Not quite side by side, but you can see he's trying to be an opportunist here, is Pinto. He wants to find himself overtaking, making his way further up in this front train, as Martinez thinking about putting a nose in down the inside of Lanzoni, but he just decides to back out of it. I don't think we'll see too many drivers go side by side through turn 11. It's just a place where you lose so much lap time if you do ultimately decide to go side by side, as Alex Santana lost DRS to the top 10 to the top 11 train, so that hurts every single car behind him plus himself in the P12 back train. That is not what the drivers behind him would want, especially Alex Santana himself as well. Wouldn't have wanted to lose that DRS, but back down the straight we go once again with the DRS. Santa Maria trying to take the lead in the Red Bull. He's going to swoop a long way around. Will Lang fight this back? No, he's not, but he might go for it once again towards turn 4. The Mercedes looking really comfortable. He's been in and out of the lead since the race start. He's our pole sitter, and he's looked very comfortable since race start as well, down towards turn 4. Now he's going to sit behind single file, as are all of these drivers as the laps tick on, as they head closer and closer to that pit window, which is still a fair amount away. They just don't want to fight too much. They don't want to hinder themselves too much. They just want to keep it safe, calm, collected, and prepare themselves for the next stint. But meanwhile, as I say that, Pinto tried to stick a nose in on Martinez through turn 8, and he gets a great run down towards turn 9 and 10, but he's not going to be close enough to try and go for a move. But all of these drivers pretty sensible at the moment.
Yes, they're just settling into this one now on lap 8. So finally, to be fair, they've been able to settle down into it. The top 5 looking a bit racy. Pinto looking more racy than the rest of them at this current state and in this current moment. David Martinez, his tyres will drop off soon, I believe. I think it'll be within the next few laps. But at the moment, he's just going to try and eke all of the advantage that he can out of those tyres. Lanzoni doing a little wobble on the straight just to try and keep his tyres in an operating window and keep them as quick as they can. The small gains that you can get from that could have huge consequences. Down the straight once again, Lang is going to go for the lead of the race. He's going to get it nice and easily. Santa Maria defending a little bit more from Lanzoni as we've got our first retirement of the race to Kubi, who comes into the pits from the middle of the pack outside of the points, and that is not where he would have wanted to see himself today. The Mercedes becoming the first retirement Now it's a Mercedes sandwich in this race with Thomas Lang up at the top. Ivan Santamaria sitting in second. The two Red Bulls actually second and fifth, so they could work together very well. The two Aston Martins sixth and seventh. So the teammate battle could have an advantage for either of them, but we'll have to see. There is yellow flags. That is for Takubi down the main straight. We head down another DRS straight. It's another opportunity for these guys to fight. We'll see whether they do. That is Lanzoni all over the rear of Ivan Santamaria. Could the McLaren launch an attack on the Red Bull as they head down the straight? The answer's no. And he's going to sit behind. I think quite a few of these are conscious decisions just to stay behind. And quite a few of them are conscious decisions just to preserve tyre life. As speaking of preserving tyres, Patrick Pillis has lost out of the DRS of his teammate Mishas up ahead, and it's really not been his day. The gambler's not paid off, and he's really struggled for the grip over the last few laps, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him come into the pits at the end of this lap. Langrock will be all over his rear. Does he come into the pits? Yes, he does, and Patrick Pillis will be the first. Marcus Almeida the second, and possibly Marek Crook the third. No, he's going to continue on another lap as we've got two drivers into the pits to open the pit window for this race. Santa Maria getting past Lang. Lanzoni trying to do the same as well. He has been successful as we get our second retirement of the race. That is Cat, who also did not have the day of his dreams, and he is the second retirement from this Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yep, so two retirements early on in this race before the halfway mark. Not particularly what you want to see, but sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And speaking of not going your way, the driver you tipped to win this race, Dennis Langrock, is missing his left end plate. He wasn't able to get past Patrick Pillis when he had his dying soft compound tyres before he made the stop, and that is why he just can't find his way past with a damaged front wing. But he's trying to move back into the DRS of Mishas, as he is doing it very well right now. He's back within 1 second just about, but doesn't have the DRS down this mini straight. That'll hurt him, but if he can hold on, that'd be a great recovery back into the DRS window of this front train. It's exactly what he needs to be doing when he has damage. He can't afford to lose DRS at the best of times, let alone with a broken front wing. He'll get swallowed up by the rest of the field if he doesn't find his way back in, and it looks like he's comfortably done so at the moment. It's back up the front. Santa Maria leading the way from Lanzoni from Lang as they head towards the straight. It's lap number 10. I'm sure we're going to see some more position swapping in a moment's time, as that is Martinez coming into the pit lane in the Haas. So the second of the two Haas's to come into the pits as Lanzoni pulls to the left-hand side, sweeps past Santa Maria. Lang doesn't put the nose in as Menno de Bever, after all of these pit stops, is in P7, but that's only provisionally for the moment. So a couple of drivers will just be hoping that the overcut will work, but the undercut normally the preferred strategy, which is what Patrick Pillis will be hoping, as well as all the other drivers who have just pitted onto the hards. They're really just they've got to hope that the undercut will be powerful enough to move them up some places on this grid, which will help them into the final stint, but it could also hurt them as well. But the hards don't wear too much, so it's just going to be a bit of a guessing game for us in the commentary box as to who feels strong and what their tyre wear is and where as well. But still quite a while, I think, until we see a lot of these hard compound runners come into the pit lane. Probably at least another 5 or 6 laps, and if they really want to push it to lap 19, like you said you saw the other night, we will see a very late pit stop, but it could hinder them into the final stint as Marek Kruk gets a 3-second time penalty. Track limits is something that you don't want to accumulate here in the Bahrain International Circuit, let alone anywhere, but it's kind of easy to do at this circuit. Just a lot of runoff, a lot of exit curbing. That's just easy to run a little bit wide. So that is the first 3-second time penalty of the season for track limits. We've seen a couple of speeding in the pit lane penalties from our retirees, but now back down the straight again. Lanzoni sets the fastest lap of the race, so he's absolutely flying, but he's still going to get overtaken nonetheless by Santa Maria as they head down towards turn 1. They're just all staying very patient at the moment. They know that they can't fight too hard before the pit window, otherwise they'll end up hindering themselves more than they're helping, and Lanzoni's proving that right now. In the opening stages of the race, he was fighting that every single day of the week, and now he's just sitting behind and waiting until they come into the pits.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a waiting game. It's a waiting game as well for Martinez and everybody behind him. They're just waiting for the top few to pit, as you mentioned. and then we will see where they stack up as opposed to the overcutters. It is a battle of strategy, and at the moment David Martinez will be looking very shakily at that 11-second gap between himself and Giovanni Galliotto and trying to close it down as soon as possible. Speaking of gaps, Giovanni Lanzoni is within a tenth of Santa Maria, but he will stay behind, and I think this is where the different driving styles of different drivers will come into it. Lanzoni very, very calculated, or at least that is the impression that he's putting up tonight. Calculated, cool, calm, staying in P2 and just trying not to push, trying to see how long he can extend this stint. We've got a pack of 5 cars right at the top. Menno de Beva 2 seconds off, as that's a mistake out of the final corner from Thomas Lang, which opens up the door for Gabriel Pinto to go through, and he makes his way up into the podium places. Giovanni Lanzoni looking around the outside of the first corner. He will make that move, and now it's a Red Bull 2-3 as that's a McLaren losing a place. Menno de Beva dropping back with that DRS. Akim Lai as well, moving up to the top of this 4-car pack for P9. But yeah, Lanzoni very calculated at the moment. He and Santa Maria have worked very well together, and now Santa Maria and Pinto have the opportunity. The 2 NLR drivers, the two Red Bull drivers here tonight. They have an opportunity, a great opportunity, to work together with Lanzoni to just absolutely put pay to David Martinez's race.
Yeah, and that is exactly what they'll want. They'll just want to work together with the DRS, and hopefully that benefits their race the most, as with the way they're working together right now, if the drivers who pitted earlier are having a little bit of a traffic problem, which it doesn't look like at the moment as they haven't caught up to the back of any drivers just yet, they should be able to pull off this overcut. But I think that the undercut looking very powerful at the moment, as Pillis is nearly up to the back of Martinez. But Martinez in a bit of a world of his own at the moment in P14. Obviously he pitted a little bit further ahead than some of the other drivers in the field, so he'll be a big threat to these drivers up the front. So working together is exactly what they have to do, or they'll find themselves in a lot of strife after the pit stop. So back onto the straight once again. I expect Santa Maria to just overtake for the lead, and then Pinto to sit behind, but it could all change as they head down the straight towards turn 1. Once again, we see the driver who's in the P2 car pull to the left-hand side, sweeps through, and no further fighting from the rest of the field. So it's a little bit of just DRS swapping as they head further and further into this race. And I think it's after the pit stops that we'll see it all kick off again. That is when they're free to fight. That is when they know exactly where they are in this race, as Noel picks up a 3-second time penalty, which is not what he'll want in such a hard battle right now with Akim Lai and Alessio Fiorino as well in the Kick Sauber. So he's in a 3-car battle. A 3-second time penalty is not what you want, as Ramarini also in the back of this little fight. So the midfield still delivering at the moment as they head through the laps, just swapping around, much like the leaders, but in quite a different position to them.
Yeah, I mean, they're working well together. This is the tight margins, and this is what happens if you lose that DRS. I reckon they would have been right up there had they had the opportunity, but unfortunately for them, they do not. The same goes for De Beva, Nathan and Langrock, who are sitting 6th, 7th and 8th. With 6/10 improvement, they could easily be up with this top pack and fighting. And I'm sure that's what Menno de Beva is trying to do as he sits with a smaller gap, a much smaller gap than he had this time last lap, 4/10. So it is an improvement, and they're going to try to continue to improve. You can see the gap is visibly closing as we head over the halfway point of this Bahrain Grand Prix. Lanzoni back up to the lead of the race now. Galliotto picking up a penalty down in P13. He is the last of those to not come into the pits. Lanzoni with a mistake on the exit. Pinto unable to capitalise. And Lanzoni actually defending that position pretty well, all things considered, as Pinto just sits now behind once again for another lap. Menno de Beva has lost 6/10 down the main straight. All of his work having been undone, and he's just got to hope for a mistake or maybe some teamwork between Lanzoni and Menno de Beva as early as round 1 of this season to try to get him back into it. It looks as though that's what's happening actually, with Menno de Beva gaining those 6/10 back in just that first sector.
Yeah, he looks very, very fast when you get to anything that includes a bit of braking, but down the straight, that is where he loses a lot of time. So he's just got to close back into that DRS range while he can, but it's easier said than done with such fast drivers being out the front. But we're now on lap 15 of 29, so I expect some pit stops in the next couple of laps as they head through. The hard tyres will just start to feel a little bit degraded at this point, so maybe some pit stops this lap, but at least next lap, the lap after, and maybe even lap 19 as well. So I think we're expecting quite a lot of drivers to pull off to the right hand side all the way of the straight and come into the box off of the final corner. Will we see it this lap though from the leaders? No, it doesn't look like it, but Pinto is going to sweep through into the lead, as will Santa Maria also try and fight this and take the P2 place. So it's a Red Bull 1-2. Yes, he is. He's trying the long way round. There's a little bit of contact with Lanzoni as they now head through turn 2, a battle that's been so stagnant for so long, and now it's all kicking off because the two Red Bulls are trying to be 1-2 and control this race, and Santa Maria gets through on Lanzoni. That is exactly what they want from a teamwork perspective. 1-2 now for the Red Bulls.
Yes, that is exactly what they wanted. And Pinto and Santa Maria have a great opportunity here with the flashing. That means that they are either full or empty, you'd think, with the way that they've been managing this race so far. They are completely full and ready to push away, try to break that DRS and then just take home an easy 1-2. But it's never going to be that easy when you've got Giovanni Lanzoni and Thomas Lang and Mishas as well breathing down your neck, with Nathan just 1.4 seconds off. Yeah, never going to be that easy. And they are going to try to make it as easy as they can as they head now onto halfway through lap 16 onto lap 17 it will be at the end of this sector. They've only built up 3 seconds worth of a gap. Won't help as well that Santa Maria had a slight wobble on the exit which allowed Lanzoni to close back in. Will we see one of these drivers dive into the pits on this lap? They'll all peel over to the right. But will they peel all the way over to the right? No, they won't. None of the top 5, at least none of the top 8 will come into the pit. Lanzoni and Menno de Beva looking to make moves. Lanzoni has been successful. Menno de Beva has been successful. He leads his pack. Lanzoni's up to P2. And the McLaren will be looking to take P1 as early as the end of this straight. Martinez picking up the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so don't forget about him, 5.4 seconds behind Giovanni Galliotto. Who's just been a little bit off the pace this weekend, on this Thursday, if you're going to be pernickety. Marcus Olmedo, by the way, making a move past Patrick Pillis. It's not been either of their days. They both made a gamble, and that gamble did not pay off. They're now scrapping for P15 and P16. They'll see where they are when everybody else comes into the pits. But at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be out of the points. Menno de Beva will be back into the DRS as soon as the main straight once again, as Mishas and Thomas Lang swap positions. Thomas Lang made a huge mistake somewhere, and he's letting everybody through. Not sure what's happened to the Mercedes, but he's just dropping down. There's no pace in that car, and now he's lost the rear. So that's something I'll try to investigate, but somebody in the top 5 pack are dropping all the way down out of the points.
Yeah, the pole sitter is not going to be happy with that, and I think that could probably only be described as technical issues, because he just slowed down all the way down the straight and then randomly lit up the rears. So either something's happened, he's just gotten frustrated and lost his head, or there was a technical issue of some kind with his equipment, which I think is the more likely of the two scenarios. There's a couple of drivers now into the pit lane. Langrock into the pits, Akim Lai in the pits, Fiorino in the pits, and Lang gets a 10-second time penalty and retires from the session. So I think that the technical difficulties option is definitely becoming the easy one to look at the moment. I think that is really unfortunate for Lang if that is the case, as he now also swiftly exits the session. But here it is, the soft tyres making their second stint debut with 3 drivers on them at the moment, and that'll be a wake-up call for the leaders. They need to come in very soon.
Yes, this is where strategy splits. It's going to be a very nervy time if you are in a Red Bull car, because you are going to have to extend your stint a very long time. One of them will come in this lap. I would imagine one of them will come in on the next. The undercut should be an advantage, so it's whoever Pinto and Santa Maria think is going to be the fastest, or who they think is going to be winning this race. It's going to be very, very interesting to see the strategic calls from 2 drivers who've worked together so well as teammates so far in this race. Gabriel Pinto will come around the final corner. He will lead us into lap 19, but will he lead the top few pack into the pits as Noel picks up a 3-second time penalty? Pinto will not be coming into the pits, nor will Ivan Santamaria, as that is Nathan in the background coming in. Menno de Beva stays out another lap. We could be going 3 wide into turn 1. We're not. Instead, it's just Lanzoni going through as Santamaria backed out of the move into turn number 1 on his own teammate. He stays in P3. His teammate sits in P2 now with Lanzoni leading. But this will be a very, very long stint for whichever one of the Red Bulls has to stay out for one more lap.
Yeah, being the second driver in the train who has to pit last is not what you want. You don't want to be sitting there just waddling around the track with an extra lap, getting undercut left, right and center without DRS as well. It makes it even more difficult. So basically, the Red Bulls will be hoping when one of their drivers comes in that Lanzoni does not, so they can DRS swap with him still and hopefully hold off a big undercut. But even still with the tyre wear, that'll be difficult to pull off as Pinto got overtaken for the lead, and that is probably not what the Red Bulls wanted at the end of the day. They probably wanted a car just to sandwich in between them, so they still had DRS, but it's not going to work that way at the moment. It's just going to be whoever comes in that Red Bull garage. I imagine this is lap number 19. I think we'll see most of these drivers come into the pit lane, and maybe a couple come in on lap 20 as well as they head towards the final corner. We'll find out in a moment's time. So Lanzoni, Pinto, Santamaria, Michas rounding the final corner, and they all pull off to the right, and that is going to be Lanzoni and Pinto into the pit lane. Same with the Aston Martin as well. Santamaria is going to be the sacrificial lamb here in the Red Bull team, and he's going to have to stay out an extra lap.
Don't know if you noticed there as well, 10-second time penalty for Giovanni Lanzoni, who's worked so hard, and that work has now just been undone, but I'm sure he's going to continue to fight for this race. They always love to fight on track, as we've got fastest laps coming in for some of the soft runners. Alessio Fiorino, he's had a quiet race, and he will sit in P11 with the fastest lap now of this Grand Prix. Lanzoni and Pinto and Michas will come out ahead of Nathan, but only just Michas is out of the DRS of the top two. Langrock, 2.5 seconds off of Akim Lai, so something has happened to the Ferrari on the last lap, and my call for that race victory appears to be very, very misled. I think it might have just been that Alessio Fiorino was so much faster. Akim Lai was just able to follow through, and Patrick Pillis might have caused a roadblock for Lai and Langrock. But now, lap 20 of 29, Santamaria and Menno de Beva, Giovanni Galliotto as well will want to come into the pits. There's 4 seconds even between Martinez and Lanzoni, so the chase is now on for the McLaren driver. You'd think that this is easily within his reach, but hey, Martinez could always pull something out of the bag.
There's 9 laps to go. Soft tyres versus hard tyres. We know that they have a big pace difference, so it's all just going to come down to the drivers, and it looks like Lanzoni already making big inroads as now the 2 cars in P1 and P2 are into the pit lane, and now we'll see what the damages are for Santamaria compared to his teammate. We know that he was right next to Lanzoni and Pinto when they came into the pit lane, and now let's see how much damage is being caused by the undercut as they head through the pit lane. He's going to come out so far behind. Look at that. They've passed the exit line, and he's only just come through the exit. In fact, Santamaria has lost out to Nathan and Michas as well. That is not what he'll want whatsoever, because now he has work to do, and 1.6 seconds to close to even get to DRS range of the P6. So, except for Galliotto, who will still have to pit, this is the order in that top 8. So, that is really unfortunate there for Santamaria, but it's just the way it goes sometimes. When you have a teammate in a battle like that, sometimes you just have to take the sacrifice, and he'll try and close back into the DRS range. And once he's there, he should stay there, as Lanzoni is already on the back of the 2 hard compound runners. The strategy for Martinez is not working at the moment, especially with Galliotto behind, giving the McLaren DRS even earlier, as he'll have to come into the pit lane soon. But Martinez will now be feeling the pressure quite a lot, with 2 soft compound runners charging towards him at maximum pace.
Yes, it was Giovanni Lanzoni who's just caught up 3 seconds in that last lap, and he could be getting past Galliotto as the RB struggled with the grip, and through goes Lanzoni, through goes Pinto as well. Santamaria, by the way, will have the fastest tyres of everybody barring Menno de Beva and Giovanni Galliotto when he decides to come in at the end of this lap. You would imagine, but no. Giovanni Galliotto will go on for another lap. Gabriel Pinto, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, on lap 22. Mishas making a move on Nathan. That is Pinto on Martinez. As Martinez just tried to fight a little bit back. But Lanzoni will continue to lead this race. Noel retires in the pit lane. Not what the Williams would have wanted to see, and not where he would have wanted his race to end up. Olmedo and Ramarini fighting away in P12. Fastest tyres for Ramarini. You would think that he's going to be able to hold on to that position, and indeed he is. Menno de Beva and Olmedo's teammate Fiorino fighting away. And that is De Beva holding on to that position with the faster tyres as well. You think that De Beva and Santa Maria will have an insane advantage in the last few laps of this Grand Prix, just because of how much tyre wear there is. Giovanni Galeotto running very wide, losing the position to Nathan, and Galeotto picking up a 3-second time penalty for his troubles. By the way, confirmation of the reason that Thomas Lang retired from this session. It was a Fanatec issue. He was unable to switch up or down gears or press any buttons at all. And so very disappointing for Lang, who looked so good. But it means that the race at the top thins out. Lanzoni and Pinto are the two main contenders, and they will head down the straight on lap 23 of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and now they'll swap around once again. The DRS just being too difficult to cover from, which is going to be a theme heading towards the final few laps of the race as well. Lanzoni or Pinto will want to be the P2 car. I would give my best guess heading onto the final lap of the race. It is the best opportunity to take the victory, but also it can always change. If you have enough battery stored, you can still hold on to the win with a little bit of battery in the lead, but it's very difficult to do. So I think that the swapping around game might turn into a bit of chicken later on as well, as they try and get the P2, but we'll see in a couple of laps time. There's still 6 laps to go here as Lanzoni with his penalty. I completely forgot he has a penalty. Is just trying to limit the damages at the moment. He's doing well at it at the moment, but right now Pinto has this race in the palm of his hand, and I can't believe I forgot about his pit lane penalty.
Yeah, I mean, he's battling for this one on track. That is for certain. Mishas as well is trying to come back into it, as is Nathan. They both made their way past David Martinez. If they can stay within range of Lanzoni, this should be a very simple podium for them. As at the moment, Lanzoni would drop all the way down out of the points into P11. That would be harsh for a man who's only made one real mistake so far this race. Santa Maria, the latest driver to get past David Martinez, he is back in range of the podium. So the Red Bull demonstrating some decent pace. Fastest lap once again for Pinto, as Pinto and Lanzoni have just broken free. Lanzoni will take the lead of this race, maybe, but not. He's just going to tuck back in, and Lanzoni will hold on to it. Nathan, Mishas and Ivan Santamaria, they had a little bit of a ding-dong, but they're going to stay line astern. Nathan, Mishas and Ivan Santamaria in that order. As that's Dennis Langrock making his way past Akim Lai into P number 8, and he's 1.1 seconds off of Menno de Beva. But this looks like it's going to be the peak of where they're going to be able to finish 7th or 6th, depending on David Martinez's pace on those hards at the end. But the top 2 are a battle. 3rd, 4th and 5th look as though they're about to start scrapping away.
Yeah, and that is going to be an interesting fight. It's for the end of the podium, but after penalties, it would be for the P2 position, with Mishas currently sitting in at provisional P3. So Santa Maria could still snatch a podium here if he plays his cards right, despite the strategy just hindering him a little bit. He still found himself in the back of a train that's battling for 2 podium places after penalties, so he'll really need to make this work. But also with the rate of knots that Lanzoni and Pinto are pulling away, maybe it won't be after penalties for P2, but it's only 5 laps. They have 3 seconds. 7 seconds will be difficult to pull for those 2. I don't think they'll quite do that, but they are pulling away bit by bit from the P3, 4 and 5 cars, as they now head onto the straight. Lanzoni and Pinto do swap around, but now Nathan is going to get through on the Aston Martin, as Santa Maria is also going to take his opportunity, and he's going to go to the left-hand side. Will he try get both down the straight? They're going to go side by side through turn 1. Late on the brakes from Santa Maria, an aggressive move to try and go for, but he gets the inside of turn 2, and now they head up the hill towards turn 3, and he's going to get 2 places, down 1 straight and 1 corner, and that is an absolutely beautiful double overtake there from Santa Maria. This is where he wants to be in the train. He wants to be sitting in the lead pack of this train until he needs to drop back and then try and get the place back on the final lap. So I think he's just playing this exactly how he wants to and not how the others want to.
Santa Maria driving an incredible race so far, demonstrating that he could be one in contention for the title. He's just such a good all-round driver, and he's had such a good all-round performance tonight. He had a bit of defence earlier on, he had a bit of waiting as well, but now when he goes out on the attack, he's able to just pull that one off too. So very, very good drive for him, and he's only been cost by the fact that he had to pit one lap, you'd argue too late, to be in realistic contention for this race lead. But it could be a 1-2 still for Red Bull. Don't forget that Giovanni Lanzoni has that 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's one of those penalties that's very, very difficult to get removed, if not impossible. But Santa Maria will still have Mishas and Nathan for company. Not David Martinez anymore, as the Haas driver has fallen out of the DRS. They go down the main straight. Lanzoni takes the lead from Pinto. Mishas takes P3 from Santa Maria. And the Aston Martin is now in prime position. Although, to be fair, I'd argue you want to be P2 in a battle because you're just able to get so many more advantages. You're able to control the pace even more than the person in the lead of the battle. And, well, as Giovanni Galeotto picks up 3 seconds. But going back to my point, I mean, you want to be P2. I think that's the name of the game. And at the moment, both Red Bulls in a great position.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree with that. You have to be second place in a battle to make it work, I think, heading on to the final lap. There's 3 laps to go here in the lights of Bahrain in the Sakhir Desert, and still it's all to play for here for the P2 position and even for the lead on track, but I don't think that is too hotly contested. I think that Lanzoni wouldn't fight it too hard at the end of the day when they come to the final lap. If Pinto's the car in P2 with a 10-second time penalty, it would be not the most optimal decision to decide to fight, but who knows here in PSGL. But they're swapping around all the time down these straights, as you have to with the DRS. You have no choice. As speaking of having no choice, swapping around down the straights, Santa Maria is closing in, and with the DRS he's going to swap around and take the P3 on the track position back once again, as Pinto also taking the lead. Will Nathan try and fancy his way into the P4 position? He did try look around the outside of Mishas, but he couldn't quite do it, and he's just going to sit in that provisional P4 position in the field and just wait. He's got to wait his turn, and surely once we head on to lap 28 and 29, he'll also try stick his nose in the V-carb. It's not the sort of position you want to be in, just sitting behind 2 cars as they battle away for a podium place. He will try and put his nose in at some point, no doubt, to try and find his way onto one of the 3 steps of the podium.
Yes, I mean, the waiting game is on for Nathan. And I don't think he's going to come under much threat from behind, although Menno de Beva has been gaining. He's gained about a second over the last couple of laps, but 3 seconds is possibly too steep for the McLaren, who's made his way past David Martinez. The next driver to do that will be Akim Alai. Whether he's able to do that at all is another question, because he's not gaining as much as he would have wanted to be. And the Alpine will still continue to sit in P8, P7 will be the target. Maybe even P6 if he gets that DRS on the final lap on Menno de Beva. Speaking of the final lap, we're about to head on to the penultimate one, and Gabriel Pinto will lead onto it ahead of Lanzoni. But the main battle here is for P3. Santa Maria, Mishas and Nathan could go at it once more, and they've only got 2 more attempts at it, 2 more stabs at taking that lead around this Bahrain International Circuit. Mishas will take P3. Will Nathan head through and take P4 around the outside? It's going to be late on the brakes between the 2 drivers. Nathan keeping a tyre in there, Santa Maria allowing him to, but still getting the exit. Impressive defensive move from Santa Maria, in no way dirty, but still being able to ward off Nathan's, not slamming the door, but just gently just pushing it shut.
Yeah, you always run out of road on the outside of turn 1 at Bahrain, and Santa Maria knows that, and then just use that to squeeze Nathan in at turn 2, get the exit, and get the ride up towards turn 4. He knew he couldn't fight too hard. He cannot lose any time to Mishas. He knows that is too important, so he just needed to lose as minimal time as possible while still holding on to the place. But he's put himself in a prime position to take the P2 after penalties here in the Bahrain International Circuit. Santa Maria sitting in P2 in the train on the penultimate lap. As they head towards lap 29 of 29, he'll just be sitting there waiting, and he'll then strike when we head on to the next straight. Or will he strike into turn 4? It's all of the things that a driver in P2 of a train has to be thinking about. But with Nathan hounding behind, I don't think that Santa Maria has the opportunity to just stay patient and wait for turn 4. He's just going to have to go for it down towards turn 1. So we'll see how it all unfolds now as they round the final corner and begin lap 29 of 29 as DRS wide open on the Red Bull, and he's going to go to the left-hand side. Nathan surely gets himself into this fight as well as he heads down towards turn 1. No, he's going to wait for turn 4 as well. Is the V-carb as Mishas defending just a little bit as they head up the hill now through turn 3 towards turn 4. Will the Aston Martin be able to fight back? Santa Maria using his defensive move, then moving back, and it looks like Santa Maria has it, but there's still a couple more overtaking opportunities throughout the lap, so he has to still drive spectacularly here if he wants to hold on. But it looks like it might be a Red Bull 1-2 in the opening round as we head through the lap at Bahrain. He's running out of time, is Mishas, and now Nathan is making it even harder for him as he's putting the pressure on in the V-carb as Santana gets a 3-second time penalty, but he's all the way up the back anyway. That won't affect him, but this battle's still raging on here as they head through turn 10. Nathan opening up the DRS, and so has Mishas as they head down the straight, but I don't think the Aston Martin's going to get close enough to Santa Maria as they head through turn 11. Time is running out, and it looks like Santa Maria will be elated with the result here, but back up to Pinto as he has Lanzoni 3/10 behind him, but with a penalty. He's driven absolutely spectacularly here as there is one straight to go in the Bahrain International Circuit, and they're going to round the final corner now, and Pinto drove this to perfection. Made the strategy to perfection, and now he's going to be victorious in Bahrain, crosses the line to take the win, but it's going to be a drag race towards the line now. Santa Maria just about holds on to make it a Red Bull 1-2 here under the lights in Bahrain. Mishas gets P3, Nathan gets P4, Menno de Veva gets P5, Martinez gets P6, Langrock gets P7, Akim Lai gets P8, Fiorino gets P9, Ramarini gets P number 10, Almedo gets P11, or Lanzoni did retire, but I think he might have just left the session early by the looks of it, so that might be reinstated. I'm not sure how exactly that has happened. Patrick Pillis then comes in behind Almedo from Kruk, then Giovanni Galeotto, then Santana, and then that is quite a long list of DNFs in the opening round, and hopefully a lot of drivers with points to prove coming into the next ones. But what a finish to the race with Santa Maria and Mishas, and Pinto also taking the win.
Incredible battle between all of the drivers. To be fair, this evening they put on a very, very good show of themselves, and in the end it's the two Red Bulls sitting up top. That is Gabriel Pinto taking that victory, taking the full points haul home, as I believe he also got fastest lap. We will get confirmation of that in a second, just after we see the podium celebration with two Red Bulls on top. This is a familiar sight in Formula One, and it is likely to become a familiar sight here in PCF 5, as we have 1-2 with the Brazilian on top. With P2 being taken by his teammate, and then P3, pretty good performance as well from Mishas, the pole in P4, Nathan there. So the top four, great battle between them. Pinto taking it in the end, then it was Santa Maria, Mishas, Nathan, Menno de Beva in P5 with David Martinez in P6. It is then going to be in P7, Giovanni Lanzoni, with Dennis Langrock taking P8. Akim Lai in P9 and Alessio Fiorino rounding out the points. Ramarini, Olmedo, Pillis, Kruk, Galeosso and Santana will round out your finishes with Noel, Thomas Lang, Kat and Takubi, your DNFs. But a pretty solid race to start off the season.
Yeah, it was a very fun race to watch. A lot of moments keeping us guessing. Overall, in the grand scheme of things, a lot of strategy indecision, I think, from a lot of the drivers, and also a couple of strategy mistakes here and there. But overall, I think that a lot of the drivers will be happy with their results, and a lot of the drivers will be unhappy with their results. But on that, you've still got to round out this stream for like another minute or two, but I don't have another minute or two. I've got to run to the bus.
Lindsay, there we
I've
go.
got to rush to the-
Problems with starting at 6:30 in the morning or whatever it is. Six. It is now what?
6 in the morning.
7:30.
Yeah, I've got a bus to catch to get to school, lads. So I'm going to run out. Thank you for having me, and I'll be back for next round. This is your comms pairing for F5. I hope you enjoyed. I definitely did. And thank you for having me in the box cot. But I have got to go. And yeah, good night, everybody. Oh, good night for you guys. I guess it's good morning for me. But anyway, I got to catch a bus. Goodbye.
Right, thank you very much, Lindsay, for joining us tonight. Thank you very much to everybody watching for joining tonight. Quality of the stream will be better next week. And hopefully, if we start on time next week, we'll be having Lindsay all the way through your PCF5 stream. That's round one. My name's Cotcass, aka Joseph Black, and thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.